Victress FM, brought to you by Victress Entrepreneurs. Here's your host, single mum, entrepreneur and brain injury survivor, Michelle Williams.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Victress FM, where every week I'll be introducing you to inspiring women who have gone after their dreams and refused to give up even in the face of extreme adversity. We'll be diving into her victories and her defeats and discovering the lessons that she's learned along the way, all with the aim of inspiring you to step into your own unique power to create a business and life that you love. Today, I was delighted to invite Olivia Shwetz from Wake the Wild Within onto the show. Olivia is an intuition reactivation coach who helps women to reactivate their natural intuitive gifts so that they can claim their authentic truth and confidently create a future that they love to wake up to. Olivia has such an inspiring story of triumph over adversity and is a woman who has walked many paths. The work that she does today and the message that she shares in this interview is truly inspiring. So I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Victress FM, where today I'm really delighted to invite onto the show Olivia Shwetz from wakethewildwithin.com. Thank you so much for joining us today, Olivia.
I am so grateful to be here. Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, I'm really excited to have you on the show because obviously I've connected with you and I know your vision and mission for your business is very in alignment with what I'm doing, because as you know, Victress FM is really about inspiring women that we all have the choice of deciding whether we want to be the victim or victress of our own lives. And I'm really interested in digging in to find out how sometimes adversity sort of takes us onto new paths, and also what it takes to go from sort of victim to victress in your business and your personal life. So I wonder if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about your victress story with us today, please, Olivia.
Yes, of course. A little bit about my story. Well, I guess I can't really just give you a little bit. We have to go right back to the beginning of time. As I was growing up, I was always that girl then, a people pleaser, right? Women are natural at just being a people pleaser. And I found myself constantly molding who and how I was to whichever situation I was. I became very adaptable, which proved to be very good for me, but it also proved to be very detrimental. It led me to some relationships and experiences that hindsight have taught me very much a lot about myself. In a sense that has given me the opportunity to grow in a beautiful way. Now, if we were to fast forward and also kind of go back to around 2011, 2012, I'd just gotten out of a terribly manipulative relationship and jumped in quickly to another one that I thought was going to be absolutely incredible. And the first few months were amazing. And then things started to deteriorate. I ended up getting pregnant right away. And he ended up having a lot of mental health issues that I was trying to help him with very little tools. I had very little support system at this time, and I was very much alone and didn't feel confident enough to turn to my family, unfortunately. So I was going in at this. It was very heavy. It was very stressful. I ended up deciding to terminate my pregnancy, and it has been a sore spot in my soul for many years. I'm very much pro-choice and pro-life, which makes it very hard to decide on that. But where I was in my life at this time, I knew that I could not bring a life into this world in the state that I was in. I was struggling to pay my bills. I was struggling to take care of the man I was with. And I decided that he and I needed to be of utmost importance, and that when we were better and we were stronger, we would try again when it was better. And unfortunately, 2 months after my abortion, he died.
Oh, wow.
So his heart gave out on him, and he was no longer able to carry the burdens that he had been given. And he left this physical earth, and it shattered me to my core. I had no idea that love could really just hit you like a tsunami wave, right? It could raise you up to these incredible heights, and then it just smashes down and just destroys everything in its path. And I was very much left in this space that left me feeling helpless, hopeless, and like I had absolutely no control over my life, that everything I touched kind of fell apart, and that everything I tried to fix only got worse.
Yeah.
And it made me feel like, what's the point? And it was in the following months of grief that I came to know a really good friend of mine. And him and I met when we both sort of needed each other. He was the light I needed, and I was the light he needed. And we were able to raise each other up from the ashes of our lives, which are completely different types of ashes. And I chose in those months that I could either crumble under the rubble of my life falling apart, of the decision to abort my baby to the man that was now gone from this earth, and all of the molding I had done to become a different person and had no idea who I was. So I could choose to crumble into the rubble and just get by and kind of figure it out. Or I could step into my power, and I could choose that from this day on, I would always strive to be better than my yesterdays. And it was with that shift, with opening myself up to the world isn't just one possibility, it's full of 1,000, 1,000,000 possibilities, and that I was in control and that I had the power to decide that for myself, to be that for whoever else needed to be. So I took a step back from social media for a few months, and I got right with myself. And when I came back with the intention to be positive and to be uplifting and to show people that no matter where you come from or what you've been through or what life has given you to experience, you can create a life you absolutely love to wake up to, which was why just a year ago, the business Wake the Wild Within is what was born from this. And now I help women step into their power. I help them create a life they love. And my journey to get to there has all helped build up all of this incredible ability for me to instill that in myself and then inspire that in others.
I love that. It's so powerful. I love everything that you've said. And you say on the little bio that you've given me, you know, you talk about mortality motivation, going from powerless to powerful, from living a life for everyone else to standing in your authentic truth, which I really love. But how did you say that you took the decision to transform yourself, if you like, and have that new positive outlook and step into your power? But what steps did you take to actually do that? How did you actually move from victim to victress?
It was, I call it almost like a divine intervention. I started paying more attention to the people that raised my vibrations versus the people that brought me down. So the people that were really draining on my energy became very much backburnered, and the people that were inspiring me, they were the ones I started to follow. So if they had like inspiring posts, or I started going to different events, even by myself, that were more spiritually based. I'd always had this spiritual side to me. I'd gone for like tarot card readings and all those things, and I really enjoyed it, but I'd always kind of tucked it safely away in a box where no one could hear about it. And I started exploring that more. I picked up my own set of oracle cards. I started using those as inspiration and direction for my days, and opening myself up to universal signs from angels and all of that nice things that my parents thought I was crazy at first. But it was helping me to discover more of who I was. And it's what that created was the essence of my intuition in the wild within me started to lead me. So all of a sudden I was interested in classes and courses and people that were so far out of my comfort zone, and I had no one in my current friend relationships or anything that were interested in this. So I was just following what felt really good, and the more that I did it, the more I was able to step into my truth. And I ended up that friend that I mentioned earlier that was the light that I needed and I was the light that he needed, he is my now partner. And it was with his support over the last 6 years, really in the beginning when we were together, because he was just a really great friend for a long time. And then one day I looked at him, I'm like, we're a thing. Like, this is more than friends, right? We lifted each other into this beautiful space. But he really offered me a space to explore and to be my own, and to not try and get me to be someone else. This was like, if that feels good, go do it. He's like, I don't understand it. I don't know what you're talking about, universe and angels and signs and all this stuff. He said, but just if it's what's making you happy, he said, go for it. And it's led me to this beautiful space. But it really, what it came down to, Michelle, was just following my intuition. If I felt that beautiful warm feeling towards a class, I went for it. If I felt like it was like somewhere I just needed to be and I could feel it in my bones, like it's like when you meet someone and you get those like excitement goosebumps, right? Like, oh, this person's going to teach me something really incredible, or oh my goodness, I'm going to help this person in some way. It was just this beautiful exchange between my intuition, my mind, body, and soul, that I started to follow it it was like a golden brick road laid out before me. And it became really easy. There was no resistance because I was just following what felt good. And that's what I really inspire everyone to do, is to just, if it's on your heart and if it feels like it's something that you need to do, you need to pursue it no matter what anyone else says. Because let me tell you, I think my parents were ready to throw me in a loony bin when I would come home and I'd be like, let me read your cards, come here, right? And I found all these incredible things, but they think they were just confused because I'd gone from this bright light of a person who didn't really know who she was to this like lighthouse of a woman who was standing in her truth and being like, I do not care if it doesn't suit you, it fits good with me.
I absolutely love that, and what you're saying resonates with me so much, because I wouldn't say in the past that I have felt particularly spiritual, but I had a brain hemorrhage 3 years ago, and since then I feel deeply kind of spiritual, and I feel it's so important to follow your intuition. And I have had I've had sort of periods in my life before I became ill where I haven't followed my intuition, and then bad stuff has happened as a consequence of that, and it's like I should have followed my instinct, I should have followed my intuition. And from my point of view, kind of at the moment with Victress Entrepreneurs, you talk about doing what feels good to you. If you have something in your heart and you feel that you're supposed to be doing it, follow it. That's kind of exactly how I feel with Victress Entrepreneurs, because I've got like my family telling me, no, you shouldn't be doing this. I'm recovering from a brain hemorrhage, and they're telling me, no, this is too much, you shouldn't be doing this. But all I can say is I've got this feeling in my stomach that there's a message that I want to get out there, and I feel that this is what I'm meant to be doing. And I feel very strongly that some of the things that happened in my life, such as the brain hemorrhage, kind of happened for a reason, and I was allowed to survive for a reason, to share this message. So that's why I love what you're doing. And you describe yourself as an intuition reactivation coach, helping women to reactivate their natural intuitive gifts so that they can claim their authentic truth, so that they can confidently create a future that they love to wake up to. And I absolutely love that, because life is too short and we should all be waking up to do things, that we love to do. So can you talk a little bit more about what an intuition reactivation coach is, what you do and how you help people?
Certainly. How do I word this? I just want to touch on something. When you said in regards to your the brain hemorrhaging and what happened to you, I love how you said that it happened for you. Because everything in life happens for our greatest growth. It is for us to come back from. It is for us to find the silver linings in the tragedies and the experiences and the challenges, and decide to choose that love and instead of that fear, right? Fear would keep us in victimhood. Love brings us to empowerment. So with that, what I do with women currently mostly is I help them awaken to the natural gifts that they were born with. We are all intuitive by nature. We are all born into this world out of love, right? Love creates us. And it's through our experiences and the truths of others that we come out of adolescence into young adulthood, and we we think we've got it all figured out, but we're not listening to the GPS that's been installed in us at birth. We're following, our parents said we should be a doctor, or we should find a career path that makes and pays the bills, or, it doesn't matter if it makes you happy, you got to make a career out of it, right? These kind of things. So what I help people do is I help them just remember and come home to themselves, that they don't need to ask for validation from 5 of their friends before they make a decision. That if they're standing in whatever kind of event you want to picture someone standing, and you're standing somewhere and you have a choice to make, and you just trust yourself and you feel it in your soul, and you believe that your decision is right, you're empowered and you're standing your power, that there's no need to ask people for permission. Right? When you're getting that validation, it's essentially being like, well, is this okay? Right?
Yeah.
Like, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah.
And then they say, yes, go for it. Like, boom, okay, I've got permission, I can go do that. So when I work with my clients, I help them gain that inner validation, right? So that they don't need to seek that outside themselves, so that they can learn to listen to their higher selves, their inner guidance, I call it the inner wild, and just know that everything they're doing is for their greater good, and it's for their best interest, that everything will work out as it's meant to be, that there is really no such thing as making a mistake in this life, because every choice we make is essentially a lesson, right? Either we learn from it, or we're going to keep experiencing that same choice until we figure it out and we choose differently.
Yeah, and I do love that. But following your intuition, what about, because I find this with a lot of women that I speak to, is that I think we've been so conditioned, like you say, to what we're supposed to do and seeking validation from others, that sometimes I think we don't know what our purpose is, what we're meant to be. But I speak to so many women that say they feel that there's meant to be something more for them, but they actually don't know what it is. So, how but they've just got this feeling there's something else. Do you come across that a lot? And if so, how do you help with sort of women that may be experiencing that?
Well, from my own experience, because I've had that from a young age. I was just like, there's just something more to this life, or more to myself, or more to us that we're meant to bring to the table, right? There's got to be more than just waking up, going to work, paying bills, trying to go on vacation and dying, right? Like that kind of a thing. Like there's so much more to life. Like, what is it? So what I help my clients do is, when they all have that, I just feel like there's something more inside of me, I take them through a series of, call it exercises, call it intuitive sessions, where we go really deep and we discuss what it is that really lights them up, right? Take away all the layers from all of your parents, your friends, your ex-lovers, your current lovers, whichever you call it, all those layers that have been like stacked on top of you, the masks even that you wear. When we take that all away and your core is what's left, that wild essence inside of you, what is it that really brings you joy? What is it that you have that's unique to this world that needs to be shared? There are so many of us out in this world, like there's billions of us, right? And there are so many of us that are not tapping into the gift that we were given to bring to this world. And we stay hidden and we stay invisible out of fear of judgment and criticism and rejection and all of these things, when really, if we were to just stand in our truth and harness what it is, whether that purpose is making hats for cats or making, making beautiful adornments for weddings, or whatever it is that really lights your passion up. It could be artistic, it could be written, it can be anything. However, if you feel like it's not worthy of being shared out of fear of it being rejected, then you're limiting yourself. And part of waking the wild within is realizing there are no limits, that the second we think there's a limit, we've limited ourselves.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I absolutely love that. And it kind of resonated with me as well, because you said, if you feel like there's something you're meant to be doing, a course you're meant to be doing or something, and there's something at the moment which I really want to do. It's kind of, quite a substantial amount of money to do it, but it's like basically a training course by this sort of like top leader. And again, I'm being drawn to do that. If I look for validation from other people, they will say, no, that's that's not a good thing to do, but I know it's following that feeling, isn't it? If you feel that strong voice inside you, I don't know if it's like a voice, but it kind of for me comes from like the core of my stomach. And they're kind of feelings that you can't really you can't deny. I certainly can't anyway. But if somebody was sort of like to come to you for intuition reactivation coaching, them what kind of steps then do you go through, and what kind of transformations can sort of people expect to have?
So what I do with my clients is I find out where they're at, right? So we sit down, we go through exactly where they're sitting right now, and then we look at, okay, so if you could project where you want to be in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, we kind of break it down from there, from where they want to be in a year, and then we break it into the 6 months, right, 3 months, and make it really manageable to be like, okay, well, if your goal is to have this intuitive ability, how do we get there? So we start a lot of it because unfortunately, many people think like, oh, intuition, like it should just be something that's like bing, bang, boom, it's there. For some of us, yes, it's very easy to access it. For others, we need to start with the basics, which is just learning to hear it, practicing, meditation and mindfulness. The free download I'm going to share with your audience today, it is the same 11 steps that I started taking to awaken to my own wild essence and my intuition. I used oracle cards were huge, journaling, and really getting to know yourself. You are your longest commitment. So with my clients, I really want to get to know them. I really want to get to know what it is about them that they are hiding from the world in regards to protecting themselves, right? And a lot of the time we disregard our intuition because we're like, yeah, there's no way that little thought in my head is like, for example, my dog has a tendency to eat books. And for the longest time, my intuition would be like, Olivia, you should take that book up and put it higher. Samson's going to eat it. And I'd roll my eyes and be like, nah, he's a good boy. He's going to do it. Well, let me tell you, by book number 4, I was like, okay, my intuition is clearly telling me, and I need to listen to this. So then every time I'd go to leave, if I had that little, did I put that book up? I'd quickly turn around and there it would be sitting on my end table. So I'd pick it up, put it up back on the bookshelf, right? So it's just really teaching my clients to have fun with their intuition and to practice with it, because we can say that we're intuitive all day, but unless we're setting aside time to tune into it, it is very much a muscle. And I like how you said that you felt it in the core of your stomach, right? That's why people call intuition a gut instinct, right? You just feel it in your gut. See, some people feel it in their body, like sensation, like goosebumps. Other people's are more, they might get a certain scent before they get that intuitive hit. There are so many different versions and varieties of intuition that I first take my clients on a little journey to discover which ones they're more which ones they're more privy to, like if they're clairsentient, clairaudient, or clairvoyant, right? There's those 5 clairs, and whichever one they're most familiar with, then we go from there and create a spiritual practice that enables them to set aside that. At first, it's only 5 to 10 minutes a day, but eventually their spiritual practice grows into something that they set aside 20 minutes to an hour, depending on how their schedule is. But that they're using it every single time they can, right? That they set reminders, that they practice their breathing and bringing themselves into their center. It is very much like a workout for your soul.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. We can go to the gym and we pump iron and we do push-ups to get our bodies in shape. But we need to get our souls in shape to really tune into our intuition. We need to have almost like an act of faith, right?
And is that through sort of, like you talked about meditation and mindfulness, then that helps you to sort of tune into your intuition?
Yeah, definitely, because meditation is a way of just cutting out the noise, right? And mindfulness brings us into the present moment. So when we can take mindfulness and we can take meditation, and if you just focus on those first 2 things, if you're meditating every day for 1 minute, that's incredible, because if you do that consistently for a year, you have now meditated every day for a year, even if it's only for a minute. But then you take that minute and you double it to 2 minutes, right? And as you build up on these things, you realize that they're a lot easier than you anticipated. That it's just a matter of choosing to become a conscious person. so many of us walk around unconscious, right? Just like go to work, pay the bills, eat food, right? Sleep, take shower, have good experiences, get through the bad stuff, and just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
But when we wake the wild within, when we become conscious of our experience, we're able to see, this is why I keep experiencing this same person in friendships, right? We always have that one friend. Why do I always have that one friend that does this or X, Y, Z, right?
Yeah.
Or you have the same jobs where you're experiencing the same kind of relationships with coworkers. When you become conscious and aware and you're being mindful and meditating and listening to your intuition, you're able to learn why you're experiencing those things, because everything is just a reflection of our inner world, right? So if we're experiencing judgment, that's because we're holding judgment to ourselves.
Oh,
right?
that's yeah. I love everything that you're saying, and I feel that, you know, I'd like to explore as well, you know, how also this could help people, you know, in business, because this couldn't help obviously in personal lives and relationships, but also like really in business as well, because I think some people are so stuck, and you know, presumably this really helps to give clarity as well.
Definitely.
So how would you say that you've always been a spiritual person, or is this something that's has been born out of some of the adversity that you've been through?
I've always been open to spirituality, but it's honestly been something that I was terrified to explore because it seemed so woo-woo and so out there, that I was terrified of the rejection and the judgment at first. So it was something, I got my cards read when I was 17, and the stuff the woman said to me, I was like, there's no way that's happening. And then within a year, everything that she'd kind of touched on was coming to life, and I was like, okay, this is strangely accurate and just dumb luck, right? And then years went by, and I didn't think I could do it for myself. And I just, once I experienced like I'd hit my rock bottom, I was like, what else do I have to lose? I might as well give it a try.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And how did you learn, you know, all of this stuff that you now sort of, you know, share and help other women with? You know, how did you go on that journey to, you know, to become the person you are now and helping other women to, you know, find their own intuitive gifts?
For me, my personal experience, it was deciding to go to the metaphysical stores to explore, and I just pick up whatever I was drawn to. And it was even before I knew that I was following my intuition, really. I just had to start following that feel-good feeling. And it was through just trusting myself. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was like, I'm just curious. So I would pick up cards, and I'd pick up books, and I'd follow some people on Instagram, or I would just put myself out into the mind, body, spirit expos that would come to town, and I'd go by myself.
Yeah.
I couldn't find anyone to go, because it was making me feel positive.
Yeah.
It was making me feel good, and I couldn't deny that the fact that I would carry around a rose quartz and I'd feel like more loving energy, right? There was just all of these incredible things that started happening. To really trace it step by step is really difficult, because I had no idea at the time that this is where it would lead me. And so when I look back on my journals, it's not really about what I was doing, it's about kind of how I was feeling. And it's just a beautiful journey that anyone who starts it, just trust where you're going, and don't be afraid to make mistakes or ask silly questions, because it's a loving environment.
Yeah. And do you feel like almost like the universe gives you clues? Like I feel almost like they're little like a little trail of clues have happened along my life that have put me on different paths, or the paths I'm meant to be on, but the paths have sometimes kind of changed, but that's because it's helped me evolve and grow into who I think I'm meant to be and to become. Do you feel that as well, or is that just like something that I feel, because I definitely have that sort of feeling in my life.
No, I 100% agree with that. It's totally true.
yeah, I definitely feel that, and that's why, you know, all of the adversities that I've been through, I kind of, although they're like awful, horrible things to go through, I do feel it's kind of like, you know, some of those things were kind of supposed to happen because to put me on this path, and then it's like there's clues that are placed before me that this is the direction you're meant to be going in now, and they just happen. I haven't had any intuition reactivation coaching, but I love the sound of it, because as I said, I'm starting, I don't know if it's to do with what I've been through, sort of a near-death experience, but I feel so much more spiritual, and I feel, again, even before what happened to me happened, there's been certain points in my life where people were put kind of in front of me that I needed at that point in my life, and it's kind of, I guess that's made me feel much more spiritual, and I think therefore I'm listening much more to my intuition than I did in the past, because I think I didn't listen to it so much before.
And there's so many of us that will go our entire lives without listening to our intuition, knowing that's what it was. When I was 18, 19 and in the service industry, I always knew what people wanted, and they'd be like, oh, you're so intuitive, and I would just be like, yeah, totally, here's your, you know, like I did no idea what they were even talking about, or what intuition was, besides just, you know, the gut instinct. It was just a knowing that I had, and I didn't go any deeper than that. But there are the few of us who will experience a near-death experience. Those of us that will have the mortality motivation, and those of us that are just so, even people that spend just a lot of time around people passing on or new life coming in, it opens the third eye, essentially, right? It's like it just opens you to seeing the world from a different perspective. And being spiritual doesn't mean that you have to dive in full force and, you know, sage yourself everywhere you go and have your mantras and wear crystals everywhere. Spirituality is very much, everyone can make it their own. You don't have to fit into any one box. And I believe that's what I love the most about it, is there are varying degrees of spiritual people out there, but all of us are spiritual. There's no denying that. Even those who don't believe they're spiritual, they are spiritual, and they may not open up to it until they're 99 on their deathbed, or they might open up to it the moment their first child is born. It's, you know, it's just, you never know when that divine download is going to happen, and you shouldn't, because it happens in divine time.
I love that you called it a divine download. And it's funny because what would you define that as? Divine download. What do you mean by that? I'm just interested.
Some people would call it like a strike of inspiration, right? Or a sudden like aha moment. To me, if I'm like laying in bed and suddenly I get this wonderful idea, and I get up and I write it down and I go, oh my gosh, I had the most amazing divine download last night, and I wrote it out and here's what happened. I've written like some powerful poems that way, and I've even just like talking to people, I've had things come through and out of my mouth and then their jaw just drops. And they're like, how did you know that? And I go, how do I know what, right? Because I wasn't even, what do you mean? I was talking to a gentleman at one point, and he was telling me how he was going through a bad breakup and he was nervous to go home, and I said, oh, if you go home to an empty house, consider that all that bad energy is just gone, and you can go buy a new couch with no memories of her. I'm like, be like a phoenix and rise from the ashes. And his mouth drops, and I'm like, did I say something to offend you? I totally apologize. And he rolls up his sleeve and he has a phoenix rising from the ashes on like a tattoo on his arm, and I'm like, that is just strange. But I've had that happen several times with people that have tattoos, or just I say something that really triggers them, and it's just, I call that like a divine download, call it a straight connection to source, because when we really boil it all down, we are all connected. I am you and you are me. We are all one. We all come from the same source in whatever way it is that we got here. We all go back to that same source when we're gone, and in the right time, right?
Yeah, and I love everything that you're saying. And are there, I always ask this question sort of on Victress FM, you know, are there any kind of particular books or podcasts or anything that have really inspired you on this journey?
The most inspirational, if anyone's heard of Esther and Jerry Hicks, it can sound a little cult-ish, but the messages are amazing. And her book, Ask and It Is Given, is like my Bible. It's just a wonderful way to listen for messages, to learn ways to play with the universe, and to just learn to trust yourself. There have been several other books that I've read over the years. I wish I had them all stacked up beside me. I've got them all just out of reach. But there's just so much information out there. It doesn't even necessarily need to be like a spiritualist podcast to awaken you, right? It's just something that finally makes you go, I get it, right? Or I see things differently now. It's just that shift in perspective and that shift in the paradigm, right? It's all absolutely, everyone's journey is their own, and everyone will come into it when they're meant to. I mean, there's certain things that were offered to me. I can remember being like 16, 17 maybe, and my mom handed me the book, The Secret.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And I was
how were you, 16 or 17, did you say?
Yeah, I was 16 or 17. So this is like when it first, I don't know when it first came out, but when it came out and printed, I think Oprah probably said something about it because my mom was big into Oprah.
Yeah.
She's amazing. But yeah, I can remember her handing me the book and me looking at it and being like, right? Like, no, I'm not going to read that. Like, personal development didn't exist to me until I was like 27. And then it's funny, the first time I actually did the book to its full entirety was like literally 6 months ago.
Oh, wow.
And I'm reading this book and I called my mom right away. I'm like, Mom, you need to go find your copy of The Secret and you need to read it right now. I am so apologetic for the fact that I didn't take it out of your hands when I was 16, but everything in divine time. So go give that book another read, right?
Oh, wow.
He was going through a tough time, and it was just one of those, it's just those beautiful full circle things.
Yeah.
So hindsight is always 20/20. So just when you can approach the world as an experience every moment, instead of just being like, I'm just driving to work, right? Instead of just being like, I'm just driving to work, or I'm just driving to the grocery store, or wherever you're going, or whatever you're doing, if you can just open your awareness to be like, what is the universe offering me today, right? Because there are signs everywhere for us to follow, to find something maybe a bit quicker, right? It's like people are always like, how do you know like to trust your intuition? And my thing is like, it's always going to be like now, right? Like you need to do it now and there's no second guessing it. Like I can remember countless times where I've been driving. I used to have to drive an hour to go to work before I worked from home. So I'm not sure what traffic's like over in the UK. The traffic's actually not that bad here, but we all complain anyway. But I can remember I would just envision having a perfect ride to work every single morning, right? And there's moments when my intuition would be like, oh, let's take a different route. And I'd be like, okay, let's do that. And I take a different route. I get there quicker, get to work. And I find out that I've missed like a 4-car pileup on my regular route, right? It's just little moments like that when you're like, that's the evidence people need to start compiling, right? So many times we'll chalk it off intuition to being like, I knew I shouldn't have done that, or told you so, right, to yourself. But if you really start almost documenting that, you start to realize how often you are ignoring your intuition. And when you start documenting when you listen, you realize like, wow, I listened to my intuition and this happened.
So
right?
Do you you say documenting, do you like recommend journaling as well then?
Oh, I cannot say enough about journaling. Like, I am a woman who will not go past like any kind of like bookstore without buying a journal because I'm obsessed with them. But I just believe there's so much power in writing from the soul, because you are your longest commitment. You're in this vessel, you're in your body, you're going to experience everything. You may as well get to know yourself, what triggers you, what lights you up, what frustrates you, so that you can start stepping into more of a power center instead of that victim, right? Because victims are always going to be like right to anger, right to sadness.
Yeah.
When we can pull out the root of that anger, when we can realize that what's triggering us about so-and-so is actually something of a shadow side of ourselves that we've neglected. And when we can accept that shadow side of ourselves, suddenly so-and-so no longer triggers us because we've accepted that part of ourselves.
Yeah, wow. So you know, out of everything that you've been through, because obviously you've gone through so much adversity, and to speak to you, you know, you're so inspirational, positive and everything. So from all of those adversities, what would you now consider to be your biggest triumphs in life?
My biggest triumphs in life? Ooh, that's a big question. Oh, I think honestly, my biggest triumph has been in the last 5 years, and it's not even like monumental. To me personally, it is monumental. When I made the decision to just be who I've always wanted to be, it was such a freeing experience to literally pull the masks of, like, I can remember I started a new job, right? Like halfway through, I call it halfway through my spiritual awakening. I started a new job, and I decided when I started that job, I was going to show up with my crystals and my cards and my crystal water, my moon water, and I was going to share about it like I'd been doing it for 1,000 years. And you know what the crazy part was?
What?
They completely accepted it. They gave me a hard time. They were a little bit, you know, like, strange. Okay, she's different. But I showed up in my truth, and I wasn't rejected because I stood in it with such conviction and confidence. Yeah. It wasn't like, hi, I'm Olivia, and I like crystals, so I'm just gonna put them on my desk. It was like, hi, my name's Olivia, nice to meet you, it's my first day. I brought my entire sacred sanctuary. Right? And then I set it up my shop, and they're just like, all right, okay. If you can have the confidence behind it, then no one's gonna question you, right? Because no. It's just that little, like, insecurity that gives people an in to try and mold you.
Yeah, I absolutely love that.
It's been monumental for me to just be like, this is who I am, this is how I want to be, and all I ever do is try to be better than I was yesterday. No one else is my competition.
Oh, I love that. But also because I think there's so many of us that aren't being who we're meant to be, and in fact don't even know, I think, you know, a lot of the time, kind of. And I think particularly for women, for women that perhaps have gone through different seasons, if you like, of their life, whether it's sort of, you know, marriage, motherhood, divorce, you know, whatever that is, we all go through different seasons. And I think sometimes we tend to lose ourselves and, you know, lose sense of who we are. So yes. I absolutely love what you said, and the fact that you stepped in so powerfully and confidently into that as well. It's really inspiring. We're going to have to move towards a close now, but I just wanted to ask you, you know, in light of everything that you have been through in your life, if you could go back and give your younger self a really good piece of advice, what would it be?
Trust the process. Honestly, just don't try to force life to go faster or to go slower. Just enjoy every single moment, because and honestly, another side thing that I would tell myself is take less photos and take more pictures. And what I mean by that is, don't be so focused on catching every millisecond of what you're experiencing. Take one good photo, put your phone, put your camera away, experience it, and then write about it with that one photo, because you will remember more by simply taking it in with your actual eyes than through the screen of your phone or camera. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and to me, I just think that makes the quality of what you experience and what you go through so much more meaningful. And by trusting the process and really just being present in your life, you realize that everything is happening for your greatest growth. Right? Because had I not experienced the loss of my boyfriend, had he not died, I may have crumbled, and who knows what my life would have come to. When he passed, as sad as I am that he is no longer a part of this physical earth, I feel him with me. I know he is in a better place. But had he not left when I was with him, who knows what it would have taken for me to awaken and to change and live my life with more intention. And thankfully, not all of us need to experience that to get there. Yeah. But we need something that awakens us, something that jars us awake, something that shakes us to our core, to tell us to slow down, reassess, and start being more intentional.
I love that, and I think particularly because I've interviewed so many women now on Victress FM who have talked about having gone through that. I don't know what you just described it as, but it's kind of like a particular moment where everything changes, and then they kind of reevaluate everything.
Yeah. Call it the universal divine intervention.
Yeah, exactly. The clues, the universal clues, whatever you want to call it. So I wanted to ask as well, because I know that you've put together some amazing free resources for our Victress FM listeners. So could you just tell us a little bit about those and how people can get hold of them, please?
Yes, you bet. So I have this incredible free download for you where you can learn 11 ways to start awaking the wild within yourself. And it's the same things that I started doing. So I mentioned a few of them within our call today about meditation and mindfulness and journaling, and how I used oracle cards were like my gateway into the spiritual world. So you'll get this amazing free download that you can use to start trusting yourself and seeing which ones resonate with you, to start building up and developing your natural intuitive abilities. And when you download that, you'll also be given an opportunity for a free call with me, just to see how I could possibly support you and help you to have a little bit of an aha moment to move forward and be the natural intuitive badass that everyone is inside, so you can be that wild woman that you're meant to be.
Amazing. So how can people connect with you? Over obviously on your website, www.wakethewildwithin.com. So is that kind of where to go to get that free resource?
Not really.
Oh, okay. There's a link.
There's a link. I'll give you the link.
Okay.
You can throw it in the bio there. And also it is in my Instagram, and you can follow me there. It's just at Wake the Wild Within, or if you're on Facebook, you can find my Facebook page at Wake the Wild Within as well. All of my resources are fairly easy to find. If you have any difficulty, I'm an open book. Message me, reach out to me through Messenger of some sorts, or email me. My website is currently under construction right now, so there's not a whole lot there other than a redirect to Instagram or Facebook. But there is also my email address there that people can access. So.
That's amazing. Well, I'll make sure all of those links are in the show notes and also over on the Victress Entrepreneurs website. But I just want to thank you so much for joining us today, Olivia. I found your story so fascinating and inspiring. The fact that you've triumphed over that awful adversity that you've been through to be such a bright light of inspiration for other women. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I receive your words on a grateful heart, and it has been a joy. And to everyone who's listening, just follow what makes you feel really good and stop at nothing but to live your life intentionally.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, and I will definitely connect with you very soon. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
And to you, our wonderful Victress FM listeners, I hope you've enjoyed this interview as much as I have. Don't forget, if you want to find out more about Olivia, please either check out the show notes or head over to victressentrepreneurs.com, where all of our podcast guests are featured on our website. Please also check out all of our amazing free resources to help you through each stage of starting, launching and growing your business. And don't forget to subscribe to Victress FM on iTunes or Stitcher to make sure that you don't miss out on another inspiring episode. And finally, please come over and join our free community, Victorious Female Entrepreneurs, over on Facebook. I look forward to connecting with you in the group, but until next week, stay victorious.
You're listening to Victress FM. Victress Entrepreneurs, for women who are victorious in business and in life.